Hey everyone, Dr. Mike here, and welcome to the channel. Today we're diving deep into the world of acinic cell carcinoma, or ACC. Now, if you or a loved one has been diagnosed with ACC, you know it can be a scary and confusing time. There's a lot of information out there and it can be hard to know where to turn. That's why we're here to break down some potential treatment options for ACC, ranging from DIY and biohacker approaches to cutting-edge medical prototypes and potential end-to-end cures. We'll be exploring the science behind each approach, discussing the potential benefits and risks, and giving you the information you need to make informed decisions about your health. But before we get started, I want to emphasize that this video is for informational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. It's crucial to consult with your healthcare provider to determine the best course of treatment for your individual needs. All right, let's get started. So let's kick things off with personalized medicine, specifically genomic profiling. Now, this is a game changer because it allows us to analyze the unique genetic makeup of your tumor. Think of it like this. Every tumor has its own fingerprint, its own set of mutations that drive its growth. Genomic profiling helps us identify these mutations, which allows us to tailor treatment accordingly. It's like, instead of using a one-size-fits-all approach, we're crafting a treatment plan specifically designed for your tumor. This targeted approach can be incredibly effective because it attacks the cancer cells at their most vulnerable points. We can identify specific genes and pathways that are driving the growth of your ACC, and then use drugs or therapies that specifically target those pathways. Now, genomic profiling is becoming increasingly common in cancer treatment, and it's showing a lot of promise for ACC as well. Studies have shown that patients with certain genetic mutations in their ACC tumors may respond better to specific targeted therapies. It's not just about finding the right treatment, though, it's also about avoiding unnecessary treatments. If we know that a particular drug won't be effective based on your tumor's genetic profile, we can avoid putting you through the side effects and costs associated with that treatment. So, genomic profiling is all about precision medicine, tailoring treatment to the individual patient and their tumor. It's an exciting field and it has the potential to revolutionize the way we treat ACC and other cancers. Now, let's dive into targeted molecular therapies which work hand in hand with genomic profiling. Once we've identified the specific genetic mutations or proteins driving your ACC's growth, we can explore targeted therapies designed to interfere with those specific targets. Think of it like a lock and key. These therapies are designed to fit precisely into the molecular machinery of your cancer cells, disrupting their ability to grow and spread. There are different types of targeted therapies, including monoclonal antibodies and small molecule inhibitors. Monoclonal antibodies are like guided missiles that latch onto specific proteins on the surface of cancer cells, marking them for destruction by the immune system or blocking their growth signals. Small molecule inhibitors, on the other hand, can slip inside cancer cells and interfere with the function of proteins involved in cell growth and survival. The beauty of targeted therapies is their precision. Unlike traditional chemotherapy, which can harm both cancerous and healthy cells, targeted therapies aim to minimize damage to healthy tissues. This means fewer side effects and a better quality of life for patients. Of course, like any treatment, targeted therapies can have side effects, but they tend to be less severe and more manageable than those associated with chemotherapy. Research into targeted therapies for ACC is ongoing, and we're seeing promising results in clinical trials. Several targeted therapies have already been approved for other types of cancer, and researchers are working hard to identify and develop new therapies specifically for ACC. This is a rapidly evolving field, so stay tuned for updates on the latest breakthroughs. Let's move on to immunotherapy, which has been making waves in the cancer world. Instead of directly attacking cancer cells, immunotherapy works by boosting your body's natural defenses to fight cancer. It's like giving your immune system a wake-up call and empowering it to recognize and destroy ACC cells. Now, our immune system is a powerful force, but sometimes cancer cells can evade its detection. They can put up a "don't attack me" signal or create an environment that suppresses the immune response. Immunotherapy helps to overcome these obstacles, unleashing the full potential of your immune system. There are different types of immunotherapy, including checkpoint inhibitors, CAR T-cell therapy, and cancer vaccines. Checkpoint inhibitors work by blocking the "don't attack me" signals that cancer cells use to hide from the immune system. CAR T-cell therapy involves genetically modifying a patient's own immune cells to recognize and attack cancer cells more effectively. Cancer vaccines, on the other hand, work by training the immune system to recognize and target specific proteins found on cancer cells. Immunotherapy has shown remarkable success in treating various types of cancer, and it's showing promise for ACC as well. Clinical trials are underway to evaluate the effectiveness of different immunotherapy approaches for ACC, and the results so far are encouraging. While immunotherapy is not without its challenges, such as potential side effects and the need for careful patient selection, it holds immense potential for transforming cancer treatment. Now let's talk about combination therapies, because in the fight against cancer, sometimes teamwork makes the dream work. Combination therapies involve using two or more different treatment approaches together to enhance their effectiveness and overcome resistance mechanisms. It's like hitting the cancer cells from multiple angles, making it harder for them to adapt and survive. The idea behind combination therapies is to target different aspects of cancer cell growth and survival. For example, we might combine a targeted therapy that blocks a specific growth signal with an immunotherapy drug that boosts the immune system's ability to recognize and destroy cancer cells. Or we might combine chemotherapy with radiation therapy to shrink the tumor, and then follow up with immunotherapy to prevent recurrence. The possibilities for combination therapies are vast, and researchers are constantly exploring new and innovative combinations. Clinical trials are underway to evaluate the effectiveness of various combination therapies for ACC, and the results so far are promising. By combining different treatment approaches, we can potentially achieve better outcomes, improve survival rates, and enhance the quality of life for patients with ACC. Now let's explore the fascinating world of drug repurposing, which is like finding hidden treasures in your attic. Drug repurposing involves investigating existing drugs that are already approved for other conditions to see if they might be effective against ACC. It's a cost-effective and efficient way to potentially identify new treatment options without starting from scratch. The idea behind drug repurposing is that a drug that was originally developed for one disease might have unexpected benefits for another. This is because many drugs work on molecular pathways that are involved in multiple diseases. For example, a drug that was originally developed to treat high blood pressure might also have anti-cancer properties. Researchers are using sophisticated computer algorithms and high-throughput screening techniques to identify existing drugs that might be effective against ACC. They are also conducting clinical trials to evaluate the safety and efficacy of these repurposed drugs in patients with ACC. Drug repurposing has the potential to accelerate the development of new treatments for ACC and bring hope to patients who are waiting for new options. Let's talk about gene therapy, which is like editing the software of life itself. Gene therapy involves using techniques to correct or replace faulty genes that are driving the development of ACC. It's a revolutionary approach that holds immense potential for treating genetic diseases, including cancer. Now, our genes are like blueprints that contain the instructions for building and maintaining our bodies. Sometimes these blueprints contain errors or mutations that can lead to diseases like cancer. Gene therapy aims to correct these errors by delivering functional copies of genes into cells, silencing overactive genes or editing genes to restore their normal function. One of the most promising gene editing tools is CRISPR-Cas9, which acts like a pair of molecular scissors that can precisely cut and paste DNA sequences. CRISPR-Cas9 has revolutionized gene editing, making it faster, cheaper, and more accurate than ever before. Researchers are exploring the use of CRISPR-Cas9 and other gene editing technologies to target the specific genetic mutations that drive ACC growth. While gene therapy is still in its early stages of development, it holds tremendous promise for treating a wide range of diseases, including ACC. Clinical trials are underway to evaluate the safety and efficacy of different gene therapy approaches for ACC, and the results so far are encouraging. Gene therapy has the potential to revolutionize medicine and offer new hope to patients with genetic diseases. Now, let's delve into the world of epigenetics, which is like the software that controls how our genes are expressed. Epigenetic therapies aim to modify the epigenetic marks that control gene activity, potentially reversing abnormal gene expression patterns in cancer cells. Think of it like this. If our genes are the hardware, then epigenetics is the software that tells the hardware what to do. Epigenetic changes can occur throughout our lives due to environmental factors, lifestyle choices, and other influences. These changes can switch genes on or off, affecting how our cells function. In cancer, epigenetic changes can silence tumor suppressor genes, which normally keep cell growth in check, or activate oncogenes, which promote cancer development. Epigenetic therapies work by targeting the enzymes and proteins involved in adding, removing, or interpreting epigenetic marks. By modifying these marks, we can potentially restore normal gene expression patterns in cancer cells, leading to their death or making them more susceptible to other treatments. Several epigenetic therapies are currently being investigated in clinical trials for various types of cancer, including ACC. These therapies have shown promise in preclinical studies, and researchers are optimistic about their potential to improve treatment outcomes for patients with ACC. Let's shed some light on photodynamic therapy, or PDT, a unique cancer treatment that uses light to activate a drug that kills cancer cells. It's like a two-step process. First, a light-sensitive drug called a photosensitizer is injected into the bloodstream. This photosensitizer tends to accumulate more in cancer cells than in normal cells. Once the photosensitizer has had time to build up in the tumor, the second step involves shining a specific wavelength of light onto the tumor. This light activates the photosensitizer, causing it to produce a type of oxygen that is toxic to cancer cells. The toxic oxygen damages the cancer cells, leading to their death. PDT is a minimally invasive treatment that can be repeated if necessary. It's often used to treat superficial cancers such as skin cancer and early-stage lung cancer, but it can also be used to treat some deeper tumors depending on their location and size. While PDT is not yet a standard treatment for ACC, it's being investigated as a potential option, especially for tumors that are accessible to light. Researchers are exploring the use of PDT in combination with other therapies such as chemotherapy or immunotherapy to enhance its effectiveness. Now let's shrink down to the nanoscale and explore the world of nanotechnology-based therapies, which involve using tiny particles, called nanoparticles, to deliver drugs or other therapeutic agents directly to cancer cells. Think of nanoparticles as miniature submarines that can navigate through the bloodstream, carrying their payload of cancer-fighting agents directly to the tumor site. Nanoparticles can be designed to target cancer cells specifically, sparing healthy tissues from unnecessary exposure to toxic drugs. This targeted delivery approach can potentially enhance the effectiveness of treatments while minimizing side effects. Nanoparticles can also be engineered to release their payload in response to specific triggers, such as changes in pH or temperature, further enhancing their precision. Researchers are exploring the use of nanoparticles to deliver a wide range of therapeutic agents, including chemotherapy drugs, gene therapy vectors, and immunotherapy agents. Nanoparticle-based therapies have shown promise in preclinical studies and are now being evaluated in clinical trials for various types of cancer, including ACC. Let's dive into the concept of cancer stem cells, which are a small population of cells within a tumor that are thought to be responsible for tumor growth, recurrence, and metastasis. These cells are like the masterminds behind the cancer operation, and targeting them is crucial for achieving long-term remission. Cancer stem cells are often resistant to traditional cancer therapies, such as chemotherapy and radiation, which is one reason why cancer can sometimes come back, even after seemingly successful treatment. These cells have the ability to self-renew and differentiate into various types of cancer cells, fueling tumor growth and spread. Researchers are working to develop therapies that specifically target cancer stem cells, aiming to eradicate the root of the cancer problem. These therapies often involve targeting the unique molecular pathways that cancer stem cells rely on for survival and self-renewal. Several potential cancer stem cell therapies are currently being investigated in preclinical studies and clinical trials. These therapies hold promise for preventing cancer recurrence, improving treatment outcomes, and ultimately finding a cure for ACC. Let's talk about metabolic therapy, which is like cutting off the fuel supply to a fire. Cancer cells have a unique metabolism that allows them to grow and divide rapidly. They often rely on different energy sources than normal cells, and metabolic therapy aims to exploit these differences to selectively kill cancer cells. One of the hallmarks of cancer cells is their increased glucose uptake and consumption. They need a lot of sugar to fuel their rapid growth. Metabolic therapy approaches might involve using drugs that inhibit glucose uptake or interfere with the metabolic pathways that cancer cells use to break down glucose for energy. Another metabolic target is the Warburg effect, which is a phenomenon where cancer cells prefer to convert glucose into lactate, even in the presence of oxygen. This inefficient process generates less energy but provides building blocks for cancer cell growth. Metabolic therapies might target the enzymes involved in the Warburg effect, forcing cancer cells to use a less favorable energy source. Metabolic therapy is an emerging field of cancer research, and several potential therapies are currently being investigated in preclinical studies and clinical trials. By targeting the unique metabolic vulnerabilities of cancer cells, metabolic therapy holds promise for developing more effective and less toxic cancer treatments. Let's talk about angiogenesis inhibitors, which are like cutting off the supply lines to a growing city. Tumors need a constant supply of oxygen and nutrients to grow, and they get this supply through blood vessels. Angiogenesis is the process of forming new blood vessels, and tumors rely on angiogenesis to support their growth. Angiogenesis inhibitors are drugs that block the formation of new blood vessels, essentially starving the tumor by cutting off its blood supply. Without a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients, tumor growth slows down, and the tumor may even shrink. Several angiogenesis inhibitors have already been approved for the treatment of various types of cancer, and researchers are investigating their potential for treating ACC. These drugs work by targeting different molecules involved in the angiogenesis process, such as vascular endothelial growth factor, VEGF, and its receptors. Angiogenesis inhibitors are often used in combination with other cancer therapies, such as chemotherapy or radiation, to enhance their effectiveness. By cutting off the tumor's blood supply, angiogenesis inhibitors can make other therapies work better and may also help to prevent metastasis, the spread of cancer, to other parts of the body. Let's talk about oncolytic virus therapy, which is like sending in a team of microscopic assassins to target and destroy cancer cells. Oncolytic viruses are viruses that have been genetically modified to selectively infect and kill cancer cells while sparing normal cells. They're like tiny Trojan horses that sneak into cancer cells and unleash their destructive power from within. Oncolytic viruses work by exploiting the differences between cancer cells and normal cells. Cancer cells often have defects in their antiviral defenses, making them more susceptible to viral infection. Once inside a cancer cell, the oncolytic virus replicates and eventually causes the cell to burst open, releasing more virus particles to infect neighboring cancer cells. In addition to directly killing cancer cells, oncolytic viruses can also stimulate the immune system to recognize and attack the tumor. This immune response can help to eliminate any remaining cancer cells and provide long-lasting protection against recurrence. Several oncolytic virus therapies are currently being investigated in clinical trials for various types of cancer, including ACC. These therapies have shown promise in preclinical studies and early-stage clinical trials, and researchers are optimistic about their potential to provide a safe and effective treatment option for patients with ACC. Let's talk about exosome-based therapies, which involve using tiny vesicles called exosomes to deliver therapeutic agents directly to cancer cells. Exosomes are naturally produced by cells and play a role in cell-to-cell communication. They're like tiny envelopes that cells use to send messages to each other. Researchers have discovered that exosomes can be engineered to carry therapeutic cargo, such as drugs, genes, or proteins, and deliver them specifically to cancer cells. Exosomes have several advantages over other drug delivery systems. They're naturally occurring, so they're less likely to trigger an immune response. They're also very small, which allows them to penetrate deep into tissues and even cross the blood-brain barrier. Exosome-based therapies are still in the early stages of development, but they hold great promise for treating a wide range of diseases, including cancer. Researchers are exploring the use of exosomes to deliver chemotherapy drugs, gene therapy vectors, and immunotherapy agents to cancer cells. Clinical trials are underway to evaluate the safety and efficacy of exosome-based therapies for various types of cancer, including ACC. Let's explore the world of herbal and natural compounds, which have been used for medicinal purposes for centuries. While many of these traditional remedies lack scientific evidence to support their effectiveness, some have shown promise in laboratory and animal studies, suggesting they may have anti-cancer properties. It's important to note that natural doesn't always equal safe. Herbal and natural compounds can have potent biological effects and can interact with other medications. It's crucial to consult with a qualified healthcare professional before using any herbal or natural remedies, especially if you have a medical condition or are taking other medications. That being said, let's look at a few examples of herbal and natural compounds that have shown some potential anti-cancer effects in preclinical studies. Curcumin, found in turmeric. Curcumin has anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties and has been shown to inhibit the growth of various cancer cells in laboratory studies. Green tea extract. Rich in polyphenols, green tea extract has been linked to a reduced risk of certain cancers and has shown anti-cancer effects in some studies. Resveratrol, found in grapes and red wine. Resveratrol has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties and has been shown to inhibit the growth of cancer cells in laboratory studies. While these findings are promising, more research is needed to determine the safety and effectiveness of these compounds in humans and to establish appropriate dosages and treatment regimens. It's crucial to approach herbal and natural remedies with caution and to consult with a qualified healthcare professional before using them. Thank you for joining us on this journey through potential cures for acinic cell carcinoma. We've covered a lot of ground, from personalized medicine and immunotherapy to cutting-edge approaches like gene therapy and nanotechnology. Remember, Knowledge is power, and the more you understand about your condition and the available treatment options, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions about your health. Remember, your health and safety are paramount. Always consult with healthcare professionals before pursuing any treatment, whether it's a conventional therapy, a clinical trial, or a complementary approach. They can help you weigh the potential benefits and risks. Consider your individual circumstances and guide you toward the best course of action for your unique situation. Stay informed, stay proactive, and never hesitate to ask questions. Your health is your most valuable asset, and by staying informed and engaged in your care, you can navigate your ACCC journey with knowledge, confidence, and hope. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you in the next video.